Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, March 1st, 2021. Happy Monday, everyone. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Before we get to the charts, I do want to invite you to join me later on today for our free monthly market outlook for the month of March. It will be held at 4 p.m. Central Time. You can find the link to join in the description below. It is a Zoom webinar. Please join me later on. We'll be talking about stocks, futures, and taking your requests. We have a ton of great charts that we'll be covering, so please join me for this awesome free event. All right, let's take a look here at the ES in the daily time frame here. One thing you'll notice about the ES right now is that price closed the previous month right at the monthly midpoint. You can see that blue dot is right on top of the monthly pivot, and that's usually indicative of a weakening market. Now, overall, this market remains strong overall, but it is indicative of a weakening market. It happened last month as well, where we closed below that monthly pivot range, but was able to push through the midpoint and continue higher. Again, this market remains strong, and any weakness could still be bought. But if there's a failure to get through this pivot up here, that 3860 key level, that could open up a bit of weakness down below, and that could lead to a return back to the previous month's low. There's a lot of support down into that area, 3650, and any pullback, even as deep as that, could still be met with buying opportunity higher. There's an LVN, a CLVN here at 3600, which could be, again, another buying opportunity for more strength. But one thing to keep an eye on is if price gets through the previous session's high and starts to fail, 3860, that could be an opportunity here to fade it on an intraday basis. Any failure to hold 3800 could open up the previous month's lows. Again, any pullback still likely to be bought on the whole, since this market remains bullish, but the fact that 2 months running here we have failed to really close strong, that could be indicative of a weakening market, at least in the near term. If we take a look here at the NQ, you'll see this one closed even more bearish than the ES. We have a higher value relationship here from month to month with the pivot range, and there's your previous month's close below the monthly pivot range. When that tends to happen, again, it is indicative of weakening market, and any push into the monthly pivot range could be seen as a selling opportunity for a retest of the previous month's low. So in this case, price could rally even as high as the previous month's midpoint and still get rejected for weakness ahead. You really have to be able to reclaim that previous month's midpoint here at call it 13,270. Above that level opens up new highs, but a failure there could lead to weakness down below. Now, keep in mind, this 12.6 is a very important support level. 12.646 is the FOMC key level from December. If there's a failure to hold that zone, that could open up a bit more weakness into 12K even, or perhaps even below. This market remains strong as well, but tech has been hit harder by the recent pullbacks. And again, this market structure level right there is very, very important, because if we rally into the mid and fail, any break of that 12.5 could open up a quick return to 11.6 and maybe even a move across the range toward the bottom of this key range. Now down here there's a major LVN as well. That's going to be an LVN that could be seen as a great buying opportunity for a continuation higher if it were to be seen at some point down the road. Again, this market remains strong, but keep an eye on the previous month's midpoint. Any rejection there could lead to some weakness up ahead. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. You'll see with crude oil has remained extremely bullish overall, but is beginning to see some weakness here early in the week. Now, one thing that stands out from last week's market is we had this low, which is kind of a doji type low. We had a major push through it during Friday's trading, and now what you're seeing is the early push into or above those levels being rejected. So 63s right now showing signs of weakness. This type of price action could lead to a bit more weakness into the pivot range for the month down below. Now, given this fact that this market has been bid at the 8-day moving average and even prices below it, that's been the MO for this market. Every time it gets down into that zone, it's been bought. If we don't see a bounce off that area here pretty soon, we may be looking at a push into the monthly pivot range. Any drop into 60 or 59 could offer an opportunity for this market to be bought for completion of the broader move into 65 or perhaps as high as 66. That's a major market structure level from the higher time frames. As we've talked about before, this market has been extremely bullish since November, but is getting to the point where it is about to complete that long-term bull move, and we may see some sort of higher time frame rejection soon. So right now in the near term, 63s, very, very important level. Early weakness this month suggests a pullback into the monthly pivot range. Any drop below the previous month's close and into the pivot range could still be seen as a buying opportunity until proven otherwise. Lastly, taking a look here at gold futures, you'll see gold futures has maintained a bearish downtrend since the beginning of the year. It continues to see weakness at the bearish PEMA trigger zone, which we recently saw weakness from here. And now, more importantly, we've broken through that 1760 CLVN and key level support. If you bring this back a bit over here, you'll notice that 1760 has been a significant market structure level, and in breaking it suggests that we could see a push into the next support level down 1660, and through 1660 could open up a move as deep as 1525 down the way. So right now, a significant break at 1760 opens up a move into 1660. Another thing to keep in mind here, lower value relationship here with the pivot range. So any push into the pivot range and that downward sloping PEMA trigger zone could be seen as a selling opportunity until price can reclaim the previous month's midpoint at 1800. Alright, that is it for now. Please join me later on for the monthly market outlook at 4 p.m. Central using the Zoom link down in the description below. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.